Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be relatively brief here. I've already talked about the Appropriations Committee and the work, the damage that they are doing to the Coast Guard budget. It looks to be over $1 billion, maybe $1.2 billion, $1.4 billion. It is not clear if the Appropriations Committee intends to specify where those cuts are, for example, the icebreakers, or the offshore patrol cutters, or shore maintenance and the like. I would appreciate immediately from the Coast Guard information on how those cuts would affect your ongoing programs, icebreaker, whatever. We intend to have a grand fight here with the Appropriations Committee. It would be helpful. I'm often reminded that we can authorize, but we don't have the money. And at some point, we're going to have a brawl with the Appropriations Committee, particularly when they intend to beef up border walls and diminish the Coast Guard and other activities. So if you could provide that, that would be very helpful to us. I'm not going to go further into the Arctic issue. I see Mr. Larson's here, and he rightfully claims the Arctic issue to himself, since he's been at it some 16 years. But I'll let him pick that up. The other issue that I'd like, and the chairman once again went into a lot of the details about the operations, if you could also supply us with information on the shore facilities, the $700 million that was available for shore facilities, where that money is being spent, and what remains to be done after that money has been used to upgrade certain shore facilities. I know we went at this last time around. I'm going to let it go at that. It's information we receive. I don't know if you have it with you today, then go ahead. Otherwise, deliver it immediately. If you don't have it, then just say so, and we'll go from there.
Well, Congressman, I don't have all the details, but of course we'd be pleased to provide that for the record. I assume that you're speaking of the hurricane supplemental funds, the $719 million that Coast Guard has already started spending to repair many of our facilities. And we're putting together the more detailed plans for those facilities that are beyond repair that we will rebuild to a higher level of resiliency. I would offer to you that the facilities that the Coast Guard has rebuilt over the past 4 or 5 years weathered those storms well. And so I think we can get this one right. And we appreciate your focus not only on infrastructure that was damaged, through these hurricanes, but infrastructure writ large, and the people, Coast Guard women and men that need to work out of those facilities. That's where every mission that we operate, that we do, starts and ends.
Congressman, I'll also say that in the trip we had last week, we're mindful of the fact that the money you provided some Band-Aids to get the folks back in the fight to immediately make mission. Then we're going to do some suturing, to continue the analogy here, to get us through the next couple of years. Then eventually there's some permanent fixes, like Admiral McAllister mentioned, with hurricane resistance, new construction that's going to take time. But we're mindful of the fact that these folks need to make mission, their families need to have a place to live and work, and we're going to make sure that we do right by the folks in the near term, as well as looking out over the horizon for resilient facilities that will last for the next storm and the storm after that.
Ms. Mack, any comment on this? Have you done an analysis? Have you been following it? If so, what do we need to know?
With regards to the medium endurance cutters, I will say that they have been operating at higher operational tempo than what was intended. So therefore, there's going to be consequences because they are not doing all the planned depot maintenance that they usually have scheduled, and that usually, in a matter of time, could lead to a catastrophic failure. In terms of whether these decommissioning dates in the capital investments are realistic, I don't have any basis to make that call. But I will say even the Coast Guard themselves, their own studies have indicated, their own assessments have indicated both the 210s and 270s are not in really good condition. For instance, the 210, they rated 5 out of their 14 for high risk for sustainability. For the 270s, for mission effectiveness, they're going to continue to degrade because in their own reports in 2015 on material condition assessment said that they are nearly continuously replacing the older subsystems. So in the long term, it's just a matter of time before those ships have some failures.
So a powerful argument to get on with the recapitalization of the ships. Fair enough. The C-27Js, the gift that keeps on taking, what's the status of them, the modernization of it, so forth? Navy Minotaur systems. So where are we with the C-27J aircraft?
So, Congressman, a couple of items of good news. We were able to award the last of 5 contracts to build our parts inventory. As you know, that was critical to restoring the reliability, particularly of the aircraft out in Air Station Sacramento. And so we've ordered about 80% of the parts that we need for Sacramento, about 60% fleet-wide. The rest of the aircraft are not yet missionized or at an active air station. With respect to the Minotaur system, we've got the first prototype fielded, and so we're assessing the usefulness of that system. It's a DoD-based system that is also carried by CBP, so I think there's a good news story there in terms of interoperability, both with DHS and DoD. We're confident that that system will be really valuable to us in the future. And in the meantime, again, to ensure that Air Station Sacramento has the capability it needs, we're putting interim operational capability on board that has the EO/IR system and the communication system, the SATCOM, so that we can missionize those in a more rapid sense while we're waiting for the Minotaur system to be fully tested and deployed to the C-27 fleet.
From an operational perspective, missionizing, it can't be overstated the importance there. I mean, the value of this platform, in addition to being able to carry cargo, really is the fact it's a sensor. And as Admiral McAllister mentioned, the fact that it's a like system with Customs and Border Protection that does a lot of the high cap in the transit zone and the source zones down in the East Pac and the Caribbean, as well as the fact it plugs and plays with the Navy and DoD system, is really going to be huge for the Coast Guard, and it'll be a like system, and all of our fixed-wing aircraft will have Minotaur.
Thank you. Finally, back to the maintenance backlog. I think the committee would appreciate a detailed schedule of the maintenance programs going forward. How are you going to spend the $700 million, what remains to be done for those particular facilities that were damaged, and then the other facilities out ahead of you? I know some of this has been presented in the past. An update would be appreciated. With that, I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Louisiana is recognized. Mr. Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admirals, just at 100,000-foot level, you listened to some of the discussion that's